powered by Reviting, streaming from the Reviting Digital Studio. It's the David Daily. Exploring frontier technology, artificial intelligence, quantum innovation, and the intersection of faith, funding, and the future. Here's your host, David Goki.
Welcome to another live episode of the David Daily. We're inching towards 50 episodes already. Thank you so much for tuning in here live. We have an amazing team behind the scenes. Welcome. If you're tuning in for the first time, or maybe you're watching this later, go ahead and comment exactly where you're tuning in from, whether it's the United States or a city here in the States, or if you're international across the ocean or in Central or South America. Love to see you all here. We do stream across 10 platforms every week, and going live for just 2 hours a week gives me the leverage that Alex Hormozi talks about, which is investing 100 minutes every day into speaking something valuable and sharing your personal experience, your personal journey. So I'm excited today for a funding, faith, and future segment. It's our specialty segment where we bring on an expert in the space of funding, faith, future, or all of them. And today I'm excited to bring Jake Cutler onto the stage. No, he's not a football player, but he is the owner, that's right, of Amphi. I'm excited to have you here. Welcome to the show.
It's great to be here, David. Thank you so much for having us on.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit more about yourself, where you're based, where you're located, maybe also a little bit about your business too, and why you feel like this is a good space for you to speak into.
Sure. My name is Jake Cutler. I'm the founder. We're one business with two brands. BizFi is our customer-facing brand that does equipment finance, term loans, working capital, SBA, and all kinds of lending for businesses. We're powered by our Amplify platform, which is really our focus on innovation, software, AI, as many people are working to build today, and everything that helps to make it a better process for our clients, both our partners that offer finance and clients that need to get it as well.
Yeah, I love that. It's awesome that we're going to be able to dive into 3 topics today around funding, faith, and future. What I appreciate about your perspective, Jake, especially just showing your LinkedIn here, love to do that for our guests. Just go ahead and connect with Jake here on LinkedIn, is that you're actually working with equipment owners. We're talking about big, heavy industrial equipment. Is that right?
We are equipment agnostics. We do all kinds of equipment. We are
Okay, tell us more about equipment.
Lab equipment, testing equipment, and of course, we love new and used construction equipment as well as heavy equipment. And one of our new partners are the guys over at Wolf Machinery and Supply. They are launching a new line of their own directional drills called the Gladiator. Directional drills, also VAX, and they have a ton of exciting new dealer relationships coming to the table. So we're happy to be partnered with people like Wolf Machinery and Supply along the way.
Yeah, I love that. Well, we're going to get into our topics today. It's exciting news, and we're going to go ahead and do that right after this first intro segment video.
Let's talk about quantum and the future of technology.
All right, so we have a couple of different technologies today. That was our future of tech video. I think we wanted to get directly into embedded finance, transforming equipment lending. So
Time to talk about funding.
All right, we got some new kids behind the stage. This is what happens when you go live stream. This is authentic. It's human. It happens. By the way, love you guys behind the scenes. You can clip that for later. I love my team. The team's great. But yeah, this idea of embedded financing, what does embedded finance actually mean? Like, let's start at the ground floor. Like, I'm a newbie. You're the expert. How would we think about embedded finance?
Sure. I think one of the really well-known brands is Affirm. Right? With buy now, pay later, they had a great embedded technology. And I think they found a fantastic niche where they were kind of partnering up with Shopify accounts. The interesting thing about that to me is that, if someone's at your Shopify account, you've already done your marketing. You've already driven your client to your page where you have the embedded finance products. When you get into equipment finance, it's more challenging. How do you get out to be with a dealership, with salespeople that are in the field and engaging with clients? And so embedded finance can just mean so many different things. It could be a QR code, can be a button at a landing page. It can be a business card that someone uses on their phone to tap with someone that then leads you to some kind of an embedded finance option. So it can really mean so many things, but ultimately we're trying to offer a better experience and to make it easier for clients to be able to get the information they need and apply for finance and get approved more easily.
Yeah, I love that Affirm example. I remember when we first got the PayPal button. It's like, oh, finally I can pay with PayPal on the internet. This is a little bit of an early nascent technology. But when we're talking about embedded finance, it's when you can pay and transact directly in the experience that you have right there. You see it all the time when you check out at a coffee shop, or you're on an e-commerce website online, or even if you're in a business world, you can often very quickly pay right next to where you're transacting. So I really appreciate that example. I don't know why I immediately went to like new and used construction heavy machinery. Maybe it's because we're doing some land development projects currently. But being able to get access to utilize that equipment with creative financing, I think that's one of the directions we could go down. The second direction I think that's really interesting is, what about all of these businesses that have all of their machinery or assets that are either in storage or in a garage somewhere or a warehouse, and that machinery is going underutilized and also depreciating? I'm really interested to hear your perspective on that, especially in the context of equipment.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really interesting subject. We could go in a couple different directions on that. Underutilized equipment in this day and age, equipment is being digitized in many different ways. There's some great companies out there. We're actually partnered with guys over at Equip Hunter. They have an easy platform where you can upload equipment if you want to try to resell it, and find buyers for that. There's ways to make that equipment work for your business. We can also use equipment that's being underutilized to secure more finance if that's what you're looking for your company. So there's a number of options for people that have equipment around that's not being utilized to its fullest advantage.
Nice. That's awesome. So if you're someone listening and you have equipment on your books and you want to utilize financing to be able to make that more profitable for yourself or more valuable, then Jake is someone you need to talk to. And I want to get into the details of that because on the surface level, I don't even know exactly what that means. So let's take it into the context of a financier like yourself. And then let's say we have two parties. Party A has the equipment and party B has the financial resources. So, how do you, in a scenario like that, bridge the gap to bring these two folks together? Now, mind you, a lot of our audience are angels, investors, venture capitalists, and owners. So, when you're thinking about financing equipment from that audience, help play that story out. Like, what does that typically look like?
Sure. And that has been the focus of our company since our inception, right? Like our primary focus has been how do we partner with people who sell equipment to give them a better experience and to give them a better experience to their clients and their buyers. Really, I was frustrated personally that I didn't find any digital innovation for myself. I didn't have any digital innovation that I could easily offer to my seller partners. And that is what we have kind of pushed out to build with Amplify. What we've found over time is, in addition to working with our seller partners to help them sell more equipment faster and easier with easy, seamless finance options, is that we've expanded over time. So we do love construction equipment, new and used, but we are also working now with accountants, fractional CFOs, and business consultants. And they love us because we're good to their clients. They bring their clients to the table. Typically, when a client is coming to a business consultant, they've either made a mistake they need to fix, or they're hitting some kind of high growth, and they can't solve those problems without capital. So we're getting very active in that space, in addition to helping our equipment sellers as well.
Awesome. I love that. And I actually was able to pull up your application online here because what I'm thinking is you really want folks to go and apply for funding on your website. Is that right, Jake?
A big part of what we do is we're building custom applications for our clients. The clients that sell, the business consultants, we give them their own custom online applications. This is kind of our standard application that's for ourselves. With our custom applications, we have all of their branding up there. We list out their sales team so it's easy to track.
Right.
We then can kind of get more data analytics behind the scenes of like who's being successful, who's getting the most applications in. And there's more that we're looking to do on the roadmap to be able to kind of gamify this for salespeople. We want to be able to incentivize them. We basically, ultimately, David, we want finance to be fun. And most of the finance you see out there is very institutional. It's boring.
Right.
We want to give people something that's a little bit more interesting, gives them information, and makes the process kind of more engaging.
We want to make finance fun. I love that. So, as you're saying, positioning for equipment founders and equipment organizations, to what degree does someone who's in the finance role, like a CFO, an accountant, or bookkeeper, help me bridge that gap between like your end customer and like your middle tier customer that's maybe managing multiple relationships that's maybe more like a partner?
We kind of fit in a niche space in the middle, right?
Mhm.
And for smaller equipment, 10,000 to 120,000 is called in the equipment finance space is called application only. And for customers who have a little bit of time in business and decent credit, they can apply. They can get approvals in a couple hours. We fund in the same day in many instances. When you're looking for bigger transactions, 300,000 up to a million, there's a bit more of a process there. We do need tax returns. We do need financials on the company. And that's basically when the CFOs are more likely to be involved. And the company's bigger where they have a CFO rather than just an entrepreneur who's running the business.
Yeah, that's so good. And I was just going to say that having a space where you're able to meet with the CFO, take a look at their books, and then help them make a financially wise decision using your financial services to be able to make that happen, especially when it comes to equipment. That sounds really phenomenal and interesting. So now, if you were to be narrowed that down just a little bit, for example, our guest this week on Tuesday primarily worked with quantum companies in the Series A and B rounds. Maybe they had 250 to 500 employees, staff, or wanted to be able to get there in the next 2 to 3 years. So, in terms of the size of the business that you typically service, you gave us an idea about the type of equipment cost or asset value. But what would you say would be typically the type of company that you work with when you're talking about funding specifically?
Um, our space is really to clients. I mean, we'll go down to clients who are doing 100,000 a year. That is really a low benchmark. And if you're doing 100,000 a year, you're a very small, very new company. But we will
Right.
go from 100,000 up to 10 million. But our core space is really companies that have a revenue from 100,000 to 2 million.
Yeah. Awesome. I love it. So, how do you make finance fun? Like, there's a handful of people in the finance space that tune in from the West Coast, specifically in the Seattle area. Typically, they'd be at a firm, maybe 10 to 20 people. Okay. So, they're probably doing in your nice little range of 100K to 10 million with, 10 people. You're certainly not making 100K a year with 10 people because hopefully you're paying your people more than 10 grand a year. So, yeah, basic numbers. Um, but for that audience who's listening, for the financier, the accountant, the bookkeeper, the CPA, a lot of folks right now are in audit and tax. Like, this is prime tax season. People are also spending their tax checks as well. So there's a lot of things going on in the finance space. What's the first step that people who have 10 people in their company and they're grossing, let's just say 1 million plus in annual revenue? What types of results would you say you as a financing advisor and partner could provide for an organization like that? Let's say they're a startup and they want to be a good fiduciary to their pre-seed or their seed funding as they go into a Series A.
Um, we're a little bit outside of the space where, like, when you're talking about Series A companies, you're talking about a lot of companies that are really putting a deck together and looking for investment. And we work with just a lot of entrepreneurs that have ownership. Some of them are big enough that they have boards. But really, it's really important for companies in this day and age to manage their business credit and their personal credit. A lot of what we do is based on the personal credit of the owner of the business, even though they're business loans. And when the loans are actuated, they don't show up on their personal credit report. And so people that need to pay, be very mindful. And this is something that we're highly focused on today, is how can we educate people and educate the businesses to be mindful of their credit before they need to borrow money, whether it's for a loan or to get equipment or to grow the business. If you've let your personal credit or business credit fall into a bad way before you get there, it gets not only much harder to get exposure from banks and lenders, it gets much more expensive. And so by doing the work in advance and keeping your personal profile and your business profile in good stead, it's going to pay off for people that are really looking to be successful over the long term.
Yeah. That piece about being successful over the long term and starting with personal finance, that's one way we can make it fun. It's like, all right, let's get 10 buckets and put them out into the front lawn. And let's get, 10 rocks that represent, or 100 rocks that represent 100% of our total monthly income and costs. So then let's go place them in these 10 buckets and like maybe get the kids involved or like your partner, or maybe have a board of directors meeting or your employees. Like you can make this fun. I mean, what's more fun than putting big rocks into buckets? I don't know. Like you could be shoveling dirt. So this aspect of making finance fun really resonates with me. In fact, I just got some of those coin cases that the bank gives you, right? So you can put quarters, nickels, dimes, and pennies in there. And I recently saw that there's a penny shortage in the United States now. So if you're looking for exact change, most likely you won't get your change in pennies. Many countries around the world have done this, which is pretty interesting. But I saw a question come into the comments that I want to highlight just to bring us back on track because we're making finance fun here. What is the biggest deal that you've ever facilitated? I believe that came in from Canelo. Tell us a little bit about that as a story going into funding for SMBs, which is kind of our second topic. What was that largest deal and how did that kind of come about? Take us through that journey.
Sure. I think some of the biggest transactions that we've handled personally are people that are in the drilling space. And so some of the drills, whether they're directional drills or for mining or for oil and gas, can easily run from 1 million to 3 million. Most of our clients, we meet either through our seller partnerships or through the referral network that we've built. So we get introduced to the client. We do the work to help them understand what due diligence they're going to need to submit. And this starts to jump ahead to some of the stuff we'll speak about later and how AI can help with consuming documentation and assessing it. But we do need to get tax returns, balance sheets, profit and loss, all that important information from the client, as well as information on the equipment they're trying to buy. And we help them get that aligned so we can get it into underwriting and get them the exposure they need to get the equipment for their businesses to continue to function and grow. And that's the key thing that we do. Of course, like we're aligning capital, we're helping people to get what they need, but ultimately we're helping their businesses to continue to grow and be successful. They can't do that without getting the equipment they need to run their business. And that's where we come and help businesses of all kinds.
I like that a lot, especially if it's like, all right, so if the messaging from a marketing point of view, like on this live stream, we have the ability to speak to that audience. So we could say, you know what, if you're drilling an oil energy drilling business owner, right, and you have a lot of equipment and you need cash, then you need to talk to BizFi, right? Right. And so it's like,
yes.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm just trying to think through this on the funding side. And it's like, if you're not in construction equipment or you're not a driller, but you're a CFO of a small to medium business doing 5 to 10 million in annual revenue, and you don't have your books quite where they need to be for March 30th, end of Q1, well, let's look at your taxes, see what your, the lay of the land is, get your basic papers in. And from there, what we could do is basically build an auditory trail that basically says, hey, this is how we can apply to financing. Am I understanding that correctly? I just want to make sure that I'm grokking and kind of grasping that from a funding point of view.
I think you have a really good grasp. We do two things though, right? Like we do help people get the equipment they need and we love that. That's our core wheelhouse. But we've also expanded to help people with all kinds of lines of credit, term loans, working capital, SBA loans, and invoice factoring. And so when you're talking about the CFOs who are a little bit behind on capital, we're looking to help them get capitalized and get them more like a term loan over time rather than the drills and the big heavy equipment. So we do have kind of two boxes
Okay.
in different ways we can help businesses get capitalized to be successful.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so let's dive into that a little bit. And we're going to get into the technology and maybe a little bit of the faith as well. But we're here talking about embedded finance, transforming equipment lending. So I really want to focus in on that topic. So let's say an organization has equipment and they need cash. What is the typical favorable term deal that you would set up? You would say, look, this would be a standard term deal. It'd be really great, profitable for our business, really help the end customer, and equipment is involved. What does that look like?
When clients have existing equipment that they're looking to monetize, we can help with that as well. Our main thing is to help people get new equipment into the business, but we can absolutely help people that own the assets. It's not encumbered in any way, meaning there's no bank that owns it, whether it's trucks or bigger drills or manufacturing equipment. Sometimes people need money, and there's a lot of what's called working capital. Some people call it like merchant cash advance. That is short-term, unsecured. It's easy, but it's very expensive. And while we do offer that in select instances, we really try to stay away from it. We really try to get term loans that are at much better rates and offerings. And when people have assets to offer, we can get them much better rates and terms to capitalize that equipment when they need capital for their business to continue to grow and expand.
I love that. So let's make this super practical because I'm a visual person. We want to make finance fun. And I'm going to go ahead and add this to this stage. I don't know if you've seen this show on Paramount called Landman, but it's basically like Yellowstone to a degree, but it's all about oil and energy.
Yeah.
And there's this family, there's horses and cattle that are out, in the middle of, oil country in Texas. And it's very interesting. So this guy actually has an equipment failure, right? He has some old equipment. It needed to be maintained. And then there's a catastrophic lethal accident. So in an example like that, if they would have had financing, if they would have had your team before, maybe they would have actually had the ability to fully bring you in to then do the maintenance to then get that rig back up to spec. So in this type of a scenario, what would you advise to a company that's in this type of a scenario where they've got equipment that's aging and depreciating? The maintenance risk is increasing. They need finance for maintenance so they can increase longevity of their equipment. How would you get involved in something like this?
You're hitting on a great topic there, David. And you had an excellent picture there for a moment of the truck with the big drill that goes up off the back. That's exactly the kind of equipment that we love to help people acquire and to finance. And it's called we love that, the truck with the big drill that tilts up off of it. That's like right in our sweet spot. We love stuff like that. That looks like something that could cost $1 to $2 million easily with the truck and all the drill equipment on the back. And it's called, in some cases, sweating your assets, right? People think that they're saving money by not going to get the newest piece of equipment, whether it's a computer or a nursing home bed, right? You're sweating your assets, you're holding on to it, hoping that by not spending more money, you're improving the returns of the business. But sometimes that can backfire, as you've illustrated, right? Your drill gets too old, the people using it are unmotivated. It doesn't work right. It's at risk of breaking. And if you sweat your assets too long, you can actually hurt yourself and your business and your team. Having the freshest, newest equipment helps you be more efficient. Your team's more excited to use it. And there's a lot of benefits to your business. And so those are some of the reasons why not letting your equipment get too aged and too old and using finance to get newer equipment into your business can actually solve a lot of problems rather than holding on to things a little bit too long.
I love that. Don't sweat too long is the key phrase in finance. That's how we're making finance fun. Don't sweat too long on your assets and especially your equipment, because then maybe you'll have an advantageous outcome is what I would say on live stream. Okay, so I have another scenario, and I'm gonna leave this particular person and business unnamed, but basically 3 years ago, actually, when I started Go Technology Solutions originally, all of my energy was in metaverse, crypto, NFTs, and Bitcoin. And it was in 2020, so it was actually a really good time to get involved in finance and funding. And I converted a lot of my cash on hand to digital currency and started to build and mine my own crypto rig with some GPUs in there, got a couple of graphics cards, and built a rocket, if you will, inside a computer case. Did really well, but the big problem is that the metaverse requires a lot of equipment, specifically LED screens. So I was partnering with a company at the time who had these big, massive screens, some of the biggest television names you've heard of or media and entertainment fans and stars would have been in front of these screens inside of a large 35,000 square foot studio space. And at that time, what our financial team was really wanting to do was to acquire that equipment on the books so that we could essentially write off the depreciation, but also utilize that equipment as collateral for a larger funding initiative. Now, fast forward 5 years, what happened is AI media production has dramatically reduced the cost of AI and advertising. We now see all of these media conglomerates, coming together, with Warner Brothers, for example, Paramount and Discovery being one of the more, along with Netflix, being one of the more larger deals that we've seen in the industry. But what happened with this particular startup is they had to sell off their real estate, get out of their lease. A higher value customer was coming in, so they could pay, higher lease term, better lease terms. Secondarily, they had all this equipment sitting in this 35,000 square foot warehouse space. They had to move that to storage. And now what's happening is they spun off the LED screen company to another company, but they still have all of this old technology that's sitting in storage. So in this type of a scenario, granted limited knowledge, and of course you don't have a copy of the books, but let's just say their cash flow statements are break even, net income is zero. What would you advise in a company like this who really needs some capital to get them into maybe year 16, 17, 18? How would you advise a company like that that has high valuable equipment sitting in storage, where they previously lost their lease space? What would be your perspective on a scenario like that?
That may be slightly outside of my core space. They have
Mhm.
some really marketable equipment that maybe they can resell. Really, they need to get it back into action. If they have
Right.
had strong revenues in the past, but we might be able to get them some debt finance so they can get things back into play, which seems like the key issue. Otherwise, they may fall slightly more into a space where they need to raise a bit more money. They're a fast moving early stage startup. If that equipment is in storage, it may not be generating revenue. And we're really closely tied with revenue based financing, right? You need to have strong personal credit. You need to have strong revenues that you can show either in tax returns or in the bank statements. And if they're temporary offline, that could hurt them. And so that's one of the things we were referring to earlier. Like
Right.
when you need finance, you're going to want the company's personal kind of credit and the business kind of credit footprint to be in a strong standing. And they're going to have to be very careful, but they're going to need to get that equipment back in action as soon as they can.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great to hear. So love that aspect. All right. This is a long show. We have a couple more topics, and we're going to get into faith for a quick second. We're going to park there. So let's play the faith intro video and we'll chat quickly.
Focusing on faith for a moment.
I love this topic of faith. It makes a lot of people squirm. Is it religion? Is it spirituality? Is it witchcraft? It's neither. It's yes, all the above. It's quantum based. It's really about what religious impacts or influences did you have as a child, and your younger years as your parents and grandparents would have had strong cultural influence on you, but also what faith traditions or non-traditions have you introduced into your life, and what does your belief systems as it relates to morals, ethics, and your perspective of doing right and wrong play into your life today? So I set that basis so that people will know what the faith topic is about. And I particularly like to highlight AI and Faith, which is a non-profit organization helping experts all over the world share the world's wisdom in religion, bringing ethics and morals into the technology space pluralistically across all the world's major religions, including Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism, Taoism, Muslim, Islam, Hindu, Buddhist. agnostic and atheist being in the top 10. Of course, there are 40 plus religions that are well known and documented globally, but that's the intent. So I'd love to touch base briefly on this with you, Jake, to hear your perspective on what faith means to you and how you apply your belief systems into your business.
Yeah, I'd say based on what you just said, there's two key topics there. One, there's definitely elements of the finance industry that are predatory, and particularly what you
Mm.
see in that working capital and merchant cash advance space. I see clients come to me all the time laden with debt that just holds them back. And we do everything we can to help people out of those situations. We do everything we can to avoid putting people into those situations. And I think people's beliefs and having a moral and ethical compass is just so important and probably not talked about enough. The second topic that you mentioned there that I think is really, really fascinating and could be the focus of a whole show is really AI and faith and ethics and moral compass. It is such a powerful tool, and only a small amount of people really kind of hold the ownership of it, and lesser people have like a good understanding of it, but it's helping more and more people every day, and we just want to make sure that AI is fair to all people. I would hate to see it get regulated in a way where it works for some and is kind of restricted for others. And so I think it's an important topic that we should really speak more about, is how do we make AI equitable and fair for everyone.
That's a really good question. So we could definitely talk for days, if not
That could
years,
be,
on
that could be
this.
a whole show.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just start with the baseline bias. Okay, so for example, bias meaning, hey, I have a tendency or a favorability to something that may potentially be unfair. A bias would be because I am Asian American, right? I had a Korean mother immigrant. I may be more favorable to other Korean immigrant hybrids or halfsies like myself because my father is American German. So similarly, when I look at other, you talk about now skin color racial bias, and I'm just saying this not to be uncomfortable, but just to say like, this idea of bias, who is building the AI? Right? Who is actually building the technology? And do we have equal and distributed representation across the base inputs to begin with? We're not saying over index on a certain input or have a bunch of people swaying the technology, but unfortunately today there definitely is a clear demographic of call them West Coast young tech bros that have built a lot of the technology that we have today. And it's not just something you change in one day, one night, one year. This is like 30 years of embedded bias. So how do you have an ethics first or unbiased first approach, or maybe even an AI morality first approach into adopting technology? What would be your thoughts on that, Jake?
Well, I am I am not in charge at the source and the roots. And I think it'd be good to see our government step up and do more to regulate AI. There have been some efforts to do so, which haven't been successful. But what I can do from my side is make sure that we are equitable and that we share our resources with everyone we can. We're partnered with groups like they call themselves AUTA, the African America Women's Trucking Association. We partner with them. We partner with Lavorne Gordon of I think it's Love Life More, and she's got an incredible foundation. And so as we build our AI products, we want to make sure that they're equitable. We want to make sure that we share them with everyone we can, so they can be a resource for all of our partners and clients.
I like that specifically, Jake, because you have organizations that are more equipped than yourself to be able to support that diverse and equitable perspective. And what I'm really hearing you say is that you want to be able to give access to all individuals, no matter their background, socioeconomically, demographically, culturally, religiously, financially, spiritually. I mean, hopefully more of your clients would have a healthier financial background. But yeah, in terms of accessibility of knowledge, I can sense that that's a real passion of yours. And you also have two organizations that you're really promoting and helping. How did you come to that place to decide, oh yeah, I want to work with this organization?
Um, We want to partner with as many organizations as we can. I mean, that's part of our
Yeah.
strategy, but we want to partner with great people. And just as you were saying, we want to make sure that we can help all people. And that comes back to the credit and capital as well, right? We want to help all small businesses, not select groups. And I think, ethically and moralistically, we all have, we should be driven to do the best that we can.
All right, I like that. Okay, that was an incredible segment on faith. I like your perspective of it. I'm curious, and you don't have to share this necessarily publicly, but what was your faith-based or religious-based influence in your younger years, and how did some of those values stay with you today?
Um, I worry more about what comes next. So I'm driven by
Hmm,
trying to do the best I can for myself, my friends, my family, and my clients, to
yeah.
make sure when we do get to the other side, we're in good shape. So we don't know what's going to happen next, and we have to have faith that there is something there waiting for us. And when I get there, I want to know that I've done everything I can to be a good person, to do the right thing.
I really like that. All right, I'm excited about technology, folks. If you're tuning in for the first time, we're here live with Jake Cutler on LinkedIn and all major platforms. Let's play that future tech video.
Let's talk about quantum and the future of technology.
All right, guys, I'm so excited. This is live, coming to you live stream on the David Daily Show, which you can find on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We're very excited that you're tuning in, and we have a special guest, Jake Cutler, today to talk about fintech, automation in small, medium business equipment finance. Jake, what does fintech automation mean today in the SMB world?
Uh, David, it's such an incredible question because with the advent of not just AI, but of as AI kind of comes up this curve to do more and more to support us, both in assessing documents, but also a subject that I'm super interested in is the vibe coding, right? Like, how can AI help us to fix and generate code that develop and launch products, make existing products better? There's just an incredible opportunity to embrace these facilities, and we're doing everything we can to learn more about it every day. But I think the landscape is literally changing around us, which makes it such an incredible topic.
Yes, it's a good place to start because vibe coding is, for those of you who haven't heard of this, it's basically this idea that you come up with a creative idea. You can speak or text or voice prompt um, uh, a technology, and that technology will build apps for you like you've never seen before. And so, just for that beginner audience who's never heard of that, because we do have a lot of grandmas on the show, and even great grandmas are watching. So, if you're a grandma wanting to vibe code, you got to talk to Jay Cutler, is basically what he's saying, because he is vibe coding every day and posting on LinkedIn. So, what's your most recent vibe code app that you were like, what, I have an automation problem, I need to vibe code?
Well, I'm super interested in it, so I'm trying to learn more about it every day. What I would say is you can connect a product called Whimsical to ChatGPT, and it will provide you with like a process diagram. And if that can help your organization or your development, that's a fantastic product. There's also a product that's really well known called Lovable, where you can connect that to your GPT or your Claude product, and you can basically prompt it to build websites and UI. So this is something that didn't exist really 6 months ago, and it's just getting better all the time.
Yes, I'm looking for Whimsical now to see if we can do that. Basically, where great ideas take shape, and this is a workflow product, is what I'm hearing you say. And so, what I want to do is kind of just share that here on screen, team. If you can pull up on screen for us to take a look at. Yeah, this is Whimsical. It's an AI workflow automation tool. So, what I really like what you're doing here, Jake, is you're saying, "Hey, look, I want to highlight good process workflow." And until I have good workflow, I don't have good technology. Is that right? Does that resonate with you?
That's a big part of it, and the other part of it is that previously, you've had to go to a platform, you've had to pay for it. I won't throw them
Right.
out by name. And you've had to design it like, hey, I want a triangle here. I want a square here. I want to drag it down and have it
Right.
connected. And you can now literally speak into your GPT product and tell
Right.
it the workflow you're trying to design and what the stages are and who the partners are. And it's remarkably accurate. And it may not provide you
Right.
the 100% finished product, but it will get you to 90% of the way literally in minutes. And being able to generate this stuff from GPTs and Claude and have these visuals come out is so impactful. And it's just an opportunity we haven't seen before.
Yeah, I love that. The essentials done right is a theme on Whimsical. And yeah, an infinite canvas to capture all of your ideas. I really love that mission statement, that value. I love when I see a good product, and this is a perfect example of a great product experience. I want to sign up, log in, contact sales, download pricing. I want to like get all into this. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, so moving along to our topic, right, of automation to SMB equipment finance, because you also mentioned Lovable. And shout out to International Women's Day. Lovable actually had unlimited credits on International Women's Day, which was phenomenal. Now, if you haven't heard of Lovable, Lovable is exactly what Jake mentioned. It's a vibe coding technology that allows you to solve your business automation problems very quickly. Now, what I'm hearing you say is that you applied that to fintech. How did you get started with this? I mean, Lovable's 6 months out. We're sitting in a bubble here on LinkedIn, by the way, of people who are in, Cursor and Lovable and MCP automation and Claudebot. I mean, if you just look at Claudebot alone, that's 1% of the population, let alone only really 30% of the population is using a GPT other than Chat GPT today. So you're sitting in a 1% audience, Jake, and you're building in Lovable. How do you encourage other people in the future who know that there's a process automation problem in their space, like yours, finance or others? How do you encourage people to jump into the vibe code and build an app that really solves a problem for them?
Really better to parse that out into two different buckets. Lovable is a fantastic tool, particularly for people that just have an idea. They're just like, hey, I have an idea for a product. You can go build those things now in a way that you've never been able to do before. When you come to the deep process automation, that's what we're doing on our side. That's a much bigger lift than Lovable. Whimsical can help us design some of those workflows, but we have a team of developers behind the scenes. And all developers today, which is fascinating, it's kind of a little bit outside of the vibe coding space. Even if you don't call it vibe coding, pretty much every developer I know is using Claude or Cursor or Windsurf to help them generate and assess code. And that means that we can clean things up and generate new code at levels never before seen. And that's one of just the fantastic opportunities that we as founders are coming into at the moment.
Yeah, I love that. This idea of clean up your code with Claude Code, right? Is like could be a soundbite. Clean up your code with Claude Code, upskill all of your engineers. On the show at the beginning of the year, we're talking about over 100,000 tech employees laid off. And we've seen more of those layoffs. The most recent has been Jack Dorsey's company, Square/Box, laid off half of their employees. And Jack Dorsey was basically like, yeah, we don't need them because of AI. So whether that's political PR or whether that's real value being added, it's still about understanding those simple processes that you can automate. And my recommendation, Jake, let me know if this sticks with you, is pick one small thing that you do all the time. Just think about where are you copy pasting the most, and AI can help do that and clean that up on Lovable, which is fantastic. Okay, so we've got 15 minutes left in this show. We've got a third topic. I want to get to that. Let's go ahead and play our future tech video now.
Let's talk about quantum and the future of technology.
All right, Jake, welcome to the show. We're here on funding future topics, and today we're talking about automation workflows, especially digital workflows that improve fintech. So what digital workflows are you working on that is driving is driving and improving small business lending specifically?
So we've already established ourselves in a few places, right? Like we've already developed that relationship with seller partners. We've built software that supports them. We've extended that software to support the fractional CFOs and CFOs and business owners. It helps their clients. We have custom online applications that we've built for all our partners that help to automate the process of getting a submission in, automating pulling credit, automating pulling the business footprint. We give people immediate ways that they can connect their bank accounts or securely submit. We've digitized all of that. But we're working to do much more than that. We want to own the workflow from the client touch point all the way to the lender, and from approvals and terms that get offered to them as well. So we're looking to automate that full footprint. And we do use Whimsical on a regular basis to just help us outline that process. What are the touch points? Where are the frictions? And how can we use AI to make it a smoother process? And we are building at the moment. We're using everything we've just discussed and talked about for the last 15 minutes. We're using today to try to make the best experience for our clients as possible. CFOs work very hard to get their balance sheets together and to get bank statements and to get taxes in place. And we can now assess, we can take all that information securely and we can assess all of it in moments using AI. And we're continuing to push, how do we take these results so it can be beneficial to our clients, to ourselves, and to give the best picture as possible to our lender in the fastest amount of time.
Wow, I love that. Get it in the fastest amount of time. I love hearing a statement like that, especially when you're talking about gathering all the documents. I would imagine you have a document management solution and using a digital workflow, or specifically, an AI automation. So using a digital workflow to improve small business lending. What was the first problem that you tackled in small business lending with automation?
Well, we've just identified that this is a pain point for everyone, and I don't think it's anything that any of the big companies are doing very well today. So just improving that process of how do we get information, how do we provide information and sync everyone up onto the same team is what we're focused on. Where we started was really with our custom online applications, and it's been a phenomenal product for us. It's very popular. It's easy to get out with our seller partners and our referral partners. And it just comes back to the start of our discussions today in embedded fintech and lending products, right? That's our embedded product that is client facing. It's the first thing they touch, and it gets them into this powerful workflow. But there's more we're working on at the moment to improve that every day.
Yeah, no, I love that. Especially if you're building a simple automation flow that says, hey, we can help you with your small business, your small business association loan, your SBA loan, right? Here's all the things you need, drag and drop here, press submit. And behind the scenes, we'll go copy paste all of your information into the application form, check up on the status and have notifications, and then kind of deployment of that funds. So in terms of call it middle of the funnel for a business owner. So let's just look at all the business owners doing 100K to 10 million in revenue per year. What does your finance workflow look like, and how are you applying automation to it? These are the questions that Jake Cutler can ask. So now, if you're talking about you're in the client deliverable season and you're delivering for clients, what fintech automation have you recently done in a digital workflow that helps in that lending process in the middle of the funnel?
We have two buckets as we've talked about earlier, and we've already, really aligned very well for people that are either looking for equipment or lending from 10,000 to 120,000. We have an application that gets you started in the process. It pushes you through, immediately offers you ways to connect banks or securely submit them, and gives you instant feedback to your viability. We also have a lending marketplace of more than 50 lenders. And so that's where we're doing more with the AI to align to people, to let them know what they qualify for, the different lending opportunities that are for them. So not just equipment finance, we can also say, hey, did you know you can get a loan that can help your business as well? Above that, though, for people that are doing 150,000 to $1 million, that is what we are building today. How can we better engage with people with AI to remind them hey, you've sent this information, but not this other information. We're using AI when people do send us the bank statements, the tax returns, the balance sheet, to assess that and give them feedback on the health of their business, as well as to align very quickly and give a report to ourselves and our lending partners. When we show up at the lender, we're not just shotgunning them 20 attachments and tax returns. We're sending them a really tidy package and also a summary that says, this is why you should lend to this person, so that we can get them lending faster and also better. This also helps them to get better rates rather than to leave lenders to wade through it and make assumptions. We're sending a nice tidy package to our partners that makes it better than ever before, in my opinion.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. So much good stuff there. I could ask you a million questions, but we're running out of time. So what I want to do now, though, is transition to one of my favorite segments. We've got 2 left, which is our rapid fire segment. Are you ready for this, Jake? Maybe the 2 of us can be here on the rapid fire screen. And all right, you're ready. I see the thumbs up, ready to go. Okay, so you are a CLFP. What does CLFP mean?
Certified lease and finance professional.
Awesome. Okay, so in 10 seconds, CLFP in 10 seconds. What's the biggest misconception people have about equipment leasing?
Wow, that's a really good question. I think most people, some of the smaller businesses, just assume that banks are going to give them money just because they apply. And really, you have to have some substance. You have to have a credit footprint. You have to have decent credit. But for those that do, we can get you equipment finance very quickly and efficiently.
I like this question. All right, next rapid fire question, custom versus standard. In the world of fire trucks, what's one custom feature every department thinks they need, but usually don't?
I unfortunately don't know that much about fire trucks.
Okay.
That's not my question, unfortunately.
Equipment in drill bits and drills. How about trucks with drills? What's one custom feature every department thinks they need, but usually don't?
Really, they need the whole truck. I mean, these clients just cannot run their business until they get the equipment they need. We can help them with finance for the truck. We can help them with factoring for all the rods and everything they need to bring it together. So we can get both sides. We can help with equipment finance, and we can help with capital for the business too.
Yep. All right. The tech jump. What's the most featured tech piece of equipment you've seen integrated into drilling recently?
Into drilling, my guys over at Wolf Machinery Supply, they are launching their new directional drill, the Gladiator line. It's incredible. And I was at ConExpo last week with them, and the feedback on their drill is just incredible. So that is the best piece of technology I've seen in the drilling space myself.
And the name of that drill one more time?
Their Wolf Machinery Supply, and their new line is called the Gladiator.
Check out the Gladiator on Wolf Machine Supply. We're making finance fun here. All right. Next question is the funding gap. What's the number one reason a department fails to get funding they need for new gear?
Not having enough revenue, or something that people sometimes miss is they just have too many low balances or insufficient funds. Lenders hate that. You have to keep some minimum balances in your bank statements. You have to keep those bank statements and your personal credit healthy. If you don't mind your personal and your business credit, you will pay the price longer term by either not getting approved or getting approved at really expensive rates. So we really are coaching everyone we can to keep a healthy business.
Awesome. All right. We're going to do category 2 on rapid fire, which is business and leadership. Toughest deal. What was the most complex puzzle of a deal you had to ever solve to get equipment or truck on the road?
We're actually working on a really tough one at the moment, and we just have this phenomenal company. They have a 1.5 year time in business, which isn't that long. They have 2 owners with phenomenal credit. They have great revenues, but they have 1 owner that has terrible credit and is really holding them back. So we've had to work very hard, but we have 1 approval for a truck for them. We're also working on trailer. We're also working on a term loan, and all of that is coming to fruition. But it's been a tough one to navigate. And those are the kind of puzzles we love to solve. We want to get capital for people that are struggling to get it from a bank. They're struggling to get it from anywhere else, and we can provide a solution, and we're happy to do so.
I love it. All right, the trust factor, last question in this category. In high stakes equipment finance, how do you build trust in the first 60 seconds of a call?
Being direct with people, I think being honest, letting them know what the process is, what they're going to need to do, and who we are and what we can support. There's nothing worse than people misunderstanding what you can actually achieve for them or misleading people. You pay the price later on. So just being direct, being honest with people upfront, I think is one of the most important things you can do as a partner.
All right, awesome. You're doing great. We only have 2 more questions before we go to our anchor segment, Beyond the Bag. So category 3 is David Daily Specials. I feel like I'm on Jeopardy. All right, this is for faith and future, but we've got 2 for future. So AI and leasing. Will AI eventually replace the need for a CLFP, or will it just make you a super broker, Jake?
That's a phenomenal question. I don't know the answer to that one, but I think about that all the time. And the reason I'm building today is because we want to be on the cutting edge. And so we want to build the system that gives people the information they need just type in, ask it questions, ask it verbal questions. We want the system to help us get the answers you need, not some complicated book or system out there that you have to navigate. And so that's the problem we're trying to solve every day.
Yeah, I'm going with the second, super broker. And final question of this round, the 2030 vision. What does an equipment department's fleet look like in 2030? You pick the industry. Is it all electric, or is there something else coming?
What I think is really interesting is with everything we've touched on, right? With Lovable, with Whimsical, there's bigger design products out there. And being at ConExpo last week, you're starting to see just incredible iterations of equipment. I mean, look at trucks today. They may have a fuel engine, but they have electronics, they have plugs, they have bars that move up and down. Just everything we're able to build better than ever before. I think it's going to be fascinating to see what we have available to us by 2030.
I love that. All right. We're right on time. We're going into our anchor segment, Beyond the Bag. Play the Beyond the Bag intro. Beyond the bag, beyond the bag, beyond the bag. Awesome. We're here with Jay Cutler, and Jay Cutler has a very specific item you picked out. It's a complete surprise to me. So what do you always travel with, or what is in your bag, Jake?
Well, so this is actually brand new to me. So I was at ConExpo last week, and I got these 2 brand new devices that I am so excited about. I've got my DJI mics, and I've got this amazing 6 foot tall, see if I can get it open, stand. A little tricky. Here we go. Shoots up to 6 feet, so I can get my phone into it. I've got my mics here so that I can do interviews on the fly and podcasts like this one. And I'm super excited to have these available to me. And we, appreciate the opportunity to be on your podcast today, David. It's been great to get to know you, learn more about all that you do. And along the way, we love also to interview our clients and our people. And so we want to be able to do that on the fly and in the field. And those 2 products are just game changers for me. So I'm so excited that we have those available to us now.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to have to get a link. And I have my Rode mic here as well. So
look at that. Very good. You're ready to rock.
Finally, all right. Mine is actually this handmade artisan bracelet. 2 of these. I wanted to shout out a local artist and creator, Rine, in Nicaragua. And thank you so much, Shantu Muku, for these bracelets. It was very nice to get those on the road. We're actually getting another one made with 3 hearts, as it will be Zelda themed. And we're going to do one more with 9 hearts, just like a cat has 9 lives. Anyways, thank you all for joining today. You can find Jake on LinkedIn, but is there another platform that you prefer people to connect with you on?
They can just reach out to me directly. I'm over at BizFi. You can find me there. You can find me on LinkedIn. That's our premier platform. We are doing more and more streaming over at Instagram and YouTube, but LinkedIn is the easiest spot to catch us, David.
Awesome. That's so great, Jake. Well, thanks for being on the show today. Let's get that exit video going. Outro. Did you know that you can go live with the power of pressing just one button? It really is that simple, especially when you have a production team like Reviting, a production partner that can help you go live, not just on LinkedIn, but on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter/X, and of course, other platforms like Twitch, Kick, and TikTok. So I just want to encourage you to go live yourself as well if you've ever wanted to get in front of the camera, especially on live stream as you get to engage with the live audience.
I want to give a quick testimonial for the Reviting team. I was really nervous about doing lives. And so thanks to Jessie and her team, I've now been doing them for, I think, 7 or 8 months now. The other thing is they very much have helped me increase my reach and online presence. So thank you, Reveting.
Jesse, I love what you and the team do. You make it so easy for me to get in, have a meaningful conversation with some amazing guests, and then watch the post-production. But I've been picking up 50 followers a day just because that content is resonating so well. So it's working across a lot of different channels for me, and I can't thank you enough.
I'm Sarah Hanks. I'm with the Northwest Industrial Resource Center. I'm the president and CEO. One of the problems that we struggle with is getting our brand out there. And the idea of going live on LinkedIn and using that platform to its fullest extent through the way they're able to take the live event and break it down into bite-sized posts, which that can then be used to further take advantage of the platform and its capabilities. Your team shows up very organized. They're holding us accountable to the tasks that we need to complete.